New details now in the growing scandal surrounding the Clinton campaign.
The State Department, when it was under Hillary's control, signed off on a deal that allowed the Russians to buy one of America's biggest uranium mines.
This as money continued to flow into the Clinton Foundation, and a lot of money, too.
This smells awful.
There has not been any evidence presented that would prompt the president or anybody at the White House to be unsettled.
There wasn't a shred of evidence because they shredded everything. Remember those 30,000 emails that were on a server?
Now, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in the line of fire arising out of the sale of a Canadian uranium company to Russia. Among the many U.S. government agencies that signed off on the deal was the State Department, headed by Secretary Clinton at the time. Also at that time, the Clinton Foundation getting millions of dollars from foreign governments. So will the presidential frontrunner be able to get out of this mess? Syndicated columnist and author of Things That Matter, Fox contributor Charles Krauthammer joins us. Charles, we just talked about the global energy issue as well as a national security issue with this uranium deal. Politically,
it will damage her, but, you know, this is, people will say, or partisans will say, number one, it's a right-wing conspiracy. That's a little bit hard to maintain when the major story today is from the New York Times, not exactly part of the vast right-wing conspiracy. I should know because I'm a part of it, and they aren't in it. So that's going to be hard to maintain. But the thing is, there's so much in their history. There have been so many scandals. People, and this is a very complicated story, but it is essentially the same old story. They wield influence. They do it under the color or the cover of a charity, which is not, you know, this charity spent $80 million on travel in his first 12 years or so. That's a lot of money to fly. So it is really a piggy bank for the Clintons. Then there is the personal pocketing of these huge fees for speeches, which is obviously connected to influence. The story begins with Kazakhstan and a speech by Bill Clinton. But what I'm impressed by is the brazenness of this all. The Clintons knew all this. They knew she'd be running again. They'd want to get back to the White House. You know, and they do this knowing they're walking right up to the line. See, what they know is it could be almost impossible to prove, to meet the legal standard, which is a real quid pro quo. But when you burn the tapes, when you eliminate the emails, and where possibly the evidence is, you feel pretty comfortable that they're not going to find anything of that sort. So it's circumstantial. It's pretty obvious that influence is being wielded here. But if you can show it with documentation, then you escape the criminal liability. And with the Clintons, as long as they have skirted the criminal liability, they've gotten away with it.
you know what I don't understand is that, and I was thinking, like, you know, I always put myself in people's shoes, like, you know, what would I have done? Would I have done this thing? But I do not understand why Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, when she left the State Department, put her name on the Clinton Foundation. It became the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea. Because at least if she hadn't put her name on it, a lot of this stuff probably, well, maybe some of it would be, you know, hitting her. But the problem is that she just jumps right into this.
That is inexplicable because it's a blunder of the first order. And the Clintons have historically been really good at covering their tracks. This is uncovering their tracks. They're actually injecting her name. It's a huge mistake because, as you say, otherwise she could say, look, it was my husband's deal. I'm not, you know, I shouldn't be penalized for what he did.
Because even the agreement, even the Obama administration okayed for this purchase by this Russian company. It wasn't just Secretary Clinton. It was a number of agencies. It's Treasury, Homeland, Energy. I mean, there were a lot of cabinet officers who passed on it.
But what I find incredibly distasteful is the fact that who did they trot out today to defend the Clinton Foundation? Chelsea. You don't use your children for that. If you've got a problem, you go out, you explain it, you take the heat. I mean, it's just part of their pattern. It's always someone else who explains, someone else who cleans up. They have their own apparatus. They're throwing all the dirt that they can at Peter Schweitzer. But it is not a Schweitzer issue. This is a Clinton issue. And the fact that it's coming from other sources, the fact that the foundation has had to announce today that it's going to redo 5 years of tax returns tells you that there is stuff in there that we are yet to learn.
Actually,
about.
that doesn't bother me because I don't think anyone understands the IRS code. Everybody's always redoing taxes. That one actually doesn't bother me. I mean, even Donald Rumsfeld can't figure out his taxes.
Don't you find the timing of the revisions rather inauspicious.
Look, I don't like this. I think there's a lot that needs to be explained. I think Secretary Clinton has a lot of explaining to do, and I agree it shouldn't be Chelsea. She needs to do an interview, and she needs to do a lot of explaining. Anyway, Charles, nice to see you.
My pleasure.
And next, Governor Chris Christie goes on the record. We're asking him the question everyone wants the answer to. Will he answer it? Find out next.